Hey everybody, this is BL Kirk, and I have a little bit of a shopping trip to go on because I found a Ayurvedic herb called Bacopa that is supposed to help with the symptoms I have. They say it's for ADD and for anxiety, and it works as like a cognitive enhancer in general. And what's funny is that it supposedly works better than modafinil, which is kind of the go-to drug when you're having like memory, concentration, etc. problems. And mostly it works by reducing stress and anxiety, which has always been kind of my main problem. So there is the theory that like my panic disorder has led to all this kind of like internal stress that I really don't have much control over, although I'm trying. Overriding your unconscious brain is not the easiest task, but it can be done through kind of meditations and stuff like that. At least like when you're in a sort of attack, you can kind of minimize it. And I've experienced that. One of the things I've talked about in the past is that if you want to know the power of your unconscious mind, let's say you have to go to the bathroom, but not so badly. You know, you just kind of feel that kind of beginnings, like, oh, I might have to go to the bathroom soon. So you decide, yeah, I better go. And now you're kind of walking towards the bathroom, and suddenly you feel a lot more. Your unconscious mind is like, oh, there's a bathroom, let's go, you know? It's like already there, peeing, right? And that's one of the effects of like the unconscious mind. It gets triggered. So yeah, that word triggered is a real word and a real concept. It's just misused by, social justice warriors pretty frequently. So one of the things I did is like, okay, I gotta pee. And I kind of really had to pee. It wasn't just, on the tip of my brain. It was really kind of, I had too much coffee that day. So I started looking at the sky and just kind of go, oh, isn't that nice, right? And kind of use my appreciation of the sky. I know it sounds very kind of hippie-ish, but my new age appreciation of nature, right? And for some reason, just kind of talking about it, talking myself down and looking, how the sky looks today and kind of absorbing it, I was able to kind of ignore that I had to go to the bathroom until I got home. And even when I went towards the bathroom at home, I wasn't like overwhelmed, with this kind of like need to pee. So we'll see, right? It's a mix of both. You kind of have to learn these kind of techniques to help yourself out so that you don't have to take a ton of drugs. And you want to take as little as possible. So one of the things I did is I noticed that all the capsules are like 300 milligrams, and I was like, well, I'm sure somebody makes 100 milligrams, right? I want to start off with that. So I went and I plugged that into Google, and boom, pops up, and it pops up near me. You could use maps for that pretty easily. If you're using Chrome, you just click on maps, and then you get like the stores near you that have the actual thing you were looking for, as opposed to just ordering it off of Amazon and having to wait for, not so long, but if it's something that might help you with some pretty serious stuff, then you're going to want to get it as soon as possible, right? So I have a store that's like 5 minutes away, a vitamin shop. Hopefully it's still there. And I'm going to see if they have the lower dosage in stock, and see what happens. So the herb I'm talking about is Bacopa. The industry standards for Bacopa is Cognition. It's like some sort of extract method, and it has like a standardized way to tell the percentage of what are called bacosides, which there's 2 of them. It's kind of like with what's it called, marijuana oil. They'll have some companies will kind of go into a standard for the percentage of the extraction, and they'll advertise that together, right? And then they could have, it could be 20%, it could be 40%. They could have a different percentage, or at least it's a standardized percentage. A lot of the pills didn't have that and didn't list any kind of percentage of the actual extract, which is a sign that you probably don't want to use that herb, that company's supplement, because they're not even part of the industry standards. They're just kind of, hey, this, kind of started out as this herb, but we think this chemical is pretty similar to it. So it's, you want to kind of have some hint that it's not just a scam. And they're always very careful to say, none of this is regulated by the FDA, but often when it comes to the better supplements and vitamins, etc., they're going to be self-regulated. And they'll have these standards like BA cognized or Bacopa. So we'll see. It would be great to not have to use cigarettes to kind of concentrate. Now, I've been smoking since I was pretty young, so it's kind of my fault. Or it could be. That when you're not smoking when you're a smoker, you kind of lose your brain a little bit. And then you need to kind of smoke to kind of get your brain back into the game. And it's so that's kind of my fault that I'm having some of these cognitive difficulties, at least. But it takes quite a while. I've never really gotten the full. It supposedly takes 6 months. I've never really gone that far. I've quit many times, but always for like 2 or 3 months. And then I have just too much to do that's been backed up because my brain's not working. And then I just kind of go back to smoking to kind of get my work done. And yeah, it's a shitty excuse, I know. Hopefully I can find some herbs that'll kind of help me out. Because I'm kind of on a low playing field right now already. And that worries me, because you got to function. And people are generous, but they're very critical when it comes to being generous. If they don't understand what you're going through, it's almost like most people automatically kind of be suspicious. If what you're going through is complicated, and so you're going to have like kind of more of a misunderstanding with it. People tend to be, kind of go towards the, what if it's fake, what if it's, hypochondria, stuff like that. So you kind of have to be, you have to watch out for that a little bit. And try to understand it as much as possible so that you kind of minimize the effects of that. Because people are naturally going to do that. So you're going to want to, minimize the effects of that and be as knowledgeable as you can. And that's why it sucks when you have cognitive problems, because let's say you had a problem with your bladder or your colon, you can kind of explain that a lot better if your mind's working. But if you need to kind of explain something that's a little bit complex and your mind isn't working too well, it takes a lot for people to believe that. They think maybe you're just, going goofy and pretending or playing games. And that's unfortunate because a lot of people need help and they can't really explain what they need, or they don't know brain chemistry. They're not going to know. Much of the time, they're not going to know what's even really going on with them when they have these kind of cognitive issues. And they're definitely not going to have the wherewithal to be like, oh, okay, let me try, this Ayurvedic herb. They're not going to know what an adaptogen is, as opposed to something that just kind of affects you one way or the other as either a stimulant or depressant. If you have these kind of mood swings, you probably want more of an adaptogen. So difficult to explain to other people, and when people don't understand, they kind of assume it's made up, or it's you're trying to get disability or something like that, or you have another problem like a family member passed away and you can't function because of that, even though you had, let's say, a neurological problem since you were really, really young. They kind of ignore that, since this happened, he's been worse, so it's really the fault of this. And they may be right that something's worse than it was, but you can't really, like in my case, I used to have panic attacks constantly. In fact, if anything, it's better as far as the, just like the raw panic attacks I used to have before any medication at all. But people don't really see it that way, because when that was going on, they weren't around me, or they didn't understand what was happening, or they thought it was something else, or sometimes they blame, oh, you're having panic attacks because you're a kid and you're scared of the dark or something. Things tend to get simplified to the level that that person is at, and it's not putting them down, because we work God knows how many hours, and we have children and all that stuff, and it's it's not saying that oh, you're ignorant, you're mean or anything like that. It's just kind of a natural consequence of constantly being at work and constantly being busy with the kids and the bills, and you're not going to be paying too much attention to more complex things, and you're going to kind of want to stick whatever's going on into the level that you can figure out. And one of the phrases that kind of helps is, okay, I'm not a doctor, I don't know what's going on. When people get to that kind of level. But a lot of people won't do that. They just kind of, they always want to know they always want to think that they know what's going on, but they don't really have the backup for that. And sometimes it's IQ, they're just not really capable of understanding. But a lot of times they're just too busy, they haven't looked into this stuff, they weren't educated in these things, and we become kind of a specialist society where, you have doctors that literally just deal with the bones of kids from the knee down. Which I remember somebody telling me that, and I think I ended up blaming her for my father dying. It was just you're the reason modern medicine is so shitty. Because you literally, are so specialized, you're pretty much useless. I don't get the whole, hyper-specialization thing. I can understand, internal, external, dermatology, that kind of stuff, neurology, but all these, specializations seem to be kind of ridiculous to me. And you can get the wrong specialist if you have all these specializations. Just like they say, a surgeon always looks for something to cut. You're going to get treated differently by a psychologist, a psychiatrist, and a neuropsychologist. They're going to see 3 different disorders. And it's really unfortunate. And the DSM is kind of an attempt to kind of bring all those schools together, but they're still going to see some vastly different disorders, because that's what they're trained in. And a lot of people don't really get the treatment they need. That's kind of why when I see something that's kind of fitting my symptoms, and it's not necessarily a drug I have to get a prescription for, I get a little bit excited, I get hopeful, because if this works, I don't have to deal with doctors who are going to misdiagnose me and give me the wrong medications that are going to have these really serious side effects, pretty much whatever they are. There are very few medications that don't have, at least affect your liver, or maybe even give you dry mouth and stuff like that. And, you want to have the least side effects you can, and it seems that these kind of herbal, especially the adaptogens, seem to be the safest. That's more my opinion. I'm not a doctor. But I've tried using supplements and having doctors and asking them about it, and they usually just kind of, like, well, I'm not turning that on. What the fuck are you talking about? It's not even real to me. Even if it was used in like a country for 3,000 years, it's not real. It's some sort of fantasy you're having. I get that, because there are a lot of supplements that are really shitty and aren't really what they say they are. So I could see studies saying, wow, all vitamins are pretty much useless. All you have to do is kind of grab the Walmart brand, and you know you're not going to really get any effect out of it. So that makes sense to me, and I try to tell that to doctors. That I at least took the. Oftentimes I'll take the cheapest brand because I have no money, and then I'll come into some money, or get my paycheck or whatever, and I'll get something better, and then that will work. So nowadays I don't even bother with the cheapos. If it says like Walmart or something on it, which reminds me, I probably have a bunch of vitamins I have to throw out. The only thing I've seen that kind of works, as like the cheapest you go, is glucosamine chondroitin. That for some reason always works. I'm not sure why. Anyway, a little bit more about Bacopa. It's a fat soluble. The chemicals within it, the bacosides, are fat soluble. So you're going to want to take it with more fat. What they do in India is they actually do it with ghee, which is clarified butter. Contains a lot of fat, and that it's supposedly helps it be more active in your body. So it's a maybe like a bulletproof coffee with grass-fed butter, which is really fucking tasty, by the way. A little coconut oil, and then so you're taking some of the good fats too, and you also maybe pop open a pill in there. Who knows? I'm gonna try some of these things, see what works better. Hopefully, like the heat from the coffee doesn't kind of like destroy it. But I'll experiment and see. So, Bacopa, the mood stabilizer, the adaptogen, the Ayurvedic herb. We'll see what happens. I'd love to do kind of these. I'm going to try this and then do a follow-up video and see, what the effects are. And what I'll do is I'll only take that different supplement and see what happens. I won't mess with the dosages of other things, or stop taking something, or take like 5 new supplements at once. I try to be a little bit scientific about it and see if that's what's actually affecting me. And I suggest you all do that, because a lot of this you're going to kind of have to learn on your own. No matter how many YouTube videos you watch, A might work for you, beyond the whole, cheap vitamins and cheap herbs probably aren't going to have that kind of chemical in there that actually does anything. There's also different chemistries, and something might work for you, it might not work for somebody else. I try to think of it as more of a, what's it called? Usually you have different underlying systemic problems going on. I don't know if the chemistry is really that different between human beings, or if it's more of we're not really, that's just something we say because we're not really aware of the underlying pathologies yet. We could be, but we don't do the tests. We don't do the, or at least the appropriate tests. We just kind of, this might work, and a lot of us have become kind of like supplement and drug pincushions that just get experimented on by doctors who, they could do a test, but they either don't know what the test is, or not aware of it, it's too expensive, you don't have real insurance, all that stuff kind of comes into play, and it's very complex. And that's one of the reasons that you need your brain to be working, because of life is complex. And you need to kind of go through that complexity stage before you can simplify it and go, oh, okay, in this case, it's not going to be bipolar, it's going to be ADD, because you have this and not that. you can simplify, but only after you kind of understand things in all their complexity. And then simplification becomes something you can do. So if your brain's not working, living in a world that's so complex is very difficult to do. Even if you're just kind of diminished to a certain extent, especially depending on what you do. I'm somebody who's always been a writer, and for the last couple of years, it's been very difficult to kind of put things together and to put articles together, and it's also been very difficult to learn some of these internet writing techniques. Because I used to write for a school paper, it's very different, when I was in college. So it's, like learning and brain plasticity is something that's supposed to be helped by Bacopa, so hopefully that'll get me back into being able to have kind of like that base level of learning. When you're older, it's not going to be as great as when you were in junior high school, but there should be kind of like a base level for your IQ where you can learn new things and understand the concepts, which is more your IQ, and then of course the plasticity would be that you can kind of remember those concepts and put them into practice. So I'm hoping that that's what will happen. Especially since an hour or two from now I'm going to be kind of retarded, and I'd really like to not be retarded. All right, everybody. Much love. Have a good one.